श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् संदधामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविंद दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। So we were in the 21st shloka last week, where we finished that shloka. The bhashya of that shloka is pretty long, but I'm not taking that in entirety. The shloka was na jayate mriyate va kadachit veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katham sa purushav partha kam ghatayati hantikam. So we were on this shloka last week. So, till now the topic which is going on since 11th shloka is what? Of the supreme consciousness, which is mentioned in the BMI chart as Om, which I termed as per this text itself, Bhagavad Gita itself, supreme consciousness, which is having 3-4 different qualities. It is unborn, it is immutable, it is eternal in nature, and it cannot be destroyed by anyone. Which is the topic which is going on. Avinashi. You remember that word which is Bhagwan is catching, that particular phrase, Avinashi, 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 Anashinaha. He's used that word many times till this shloka in terms of that entire thing. So that supreme self, which is the self of all, with no distinction at all, which cannot be divided between body to body, person to person, jiva to jiva, that self is the same. And one more thing which is very important, it's called the cause of all, which is what Bhagavan has been talking about till now. The cause of all, which does not have a cause of its own. It doesn't come out of anything. It's not an effect of anything. He is called causeless cause of everyone. Because if that self also has a cause, then it will also become an effect. Then that Nitya and all those things Bhagavan spoke about won't go for or that self at all. So that's the topic going on. Bhagavan says in the last one, Arjun, that man, that realized man who has understood that self, Veda, which is where we left in the last class, the one who knows that self as that, as pervading in everything, which he used from 17 shloka, yena sarvam idam tatam. He said that one which is pervaded in everything. Everything is pervaded by that self. That one who knows this self as this one, tell me, kam ghatayati hantikam. How can he inflict to get somebody killed? In the previous shloka, he refused two more things. That self cannot become the doer also. It cannot become the receiver of somebody else's action also. Receiver means it cannot be seen as bearing the result of somebody else's action. And I told you there are only three things to talk about. Either we are a doer, or we are bearer of the result of somebody else's action, or the third thing is that we end up, manifesting our own things in our world. So these are three things which we usually do. Or the third thing, I will put it this way, or we can inflict somebody else to bear the result. We can instruct somebody else to do something which have a bearing on somebody else. That is what he used here. Kam ghateti. How can he get somebody killed? Killed means how can he inflict some action on someone? So these are only three ways. Either we can be a doer, or we can be the bearer of the result of somebody else's action, or we can get the action done by somebody else. Only three things which go with us. Now Bhagavan moves on in the next shloka which we are going to start today. So I told you Bhashya is pretty long. I am not going to pick up that in entirety, but I'll pick up some instances because it has got some deep facts in that Bhashya. But I'll take this word. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grannati naro parani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Those who are referring to the book, I'll tell you. The second line says तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णान्यन्यानि. But it has to be split in this way. Jirnani is one word, Anyani onwards is the next word altogether. But anyway, that's for the explanation. Now, whatever topic Bhagwan has been taking till now, he is supporting that topic with an example. Now, example has got two parts in this shloka. One is called Drishtant, which is an example. Bhagwan is giving an example how that all the nature I told you about the self, how it is applicable here. I'll explain you with an example. But there is another word which we use in Sanskrit called Darshtant. How that example which I gave you is applicable on you. See, I may just walk away by giving an example. That's one way to say you understand how you apply it on yourself. But here Bhagwan is using what? He is giving an example and he is also explaining how you will deduce that example on you, how it will work on you, how it translates to you. He is giving both that in this shloka. But the one thing which I want you to just mark here, this shloka is a little bit misunderstood shloka in common parlance. There are many explanations of this shloka. But please remember, when we read the shloka, there is one literal meaning, but there is one meaning which Bhagwan wants you to understand. So I am going to tell you the world parlance meaning also, which is very popularly translatable in the world. One thing which I'll tell you about this shloka is that whenever somebody expires at home, this shloka I have seen in many houses getting chanted. You must have heard this. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya. Bhagwan is giving a very beautiful example, but that's not how people have understood. That's not the correct meaning, but I'll explain you both. The first meaning, which is the common parlance meaning, is that, which the way people understand this, is that he's giving the word here, yatha vasamsi jirnani vihaya. When a cloth becomes old, or a cloth becomes torn, or a cloth become useless for us. Well, it's not useful for us. The way a person just give away or give up that cloth and acquire new cloth. But remember, even while acquiring the new cloth, the person doesn't change. Right? See, we all buy clothes, we give up clothes, we may donate it to someone, we may discard it. You can do whatever with that cloth. But just as when you just give up an old cloth and buy a new cloth, the person in that cloth remains the same. In the same way, this body is only a cloth for this jiva. Full stop. In the same way, jiva also, now you have to understand the literal meaning also, how people understand this. Whenever this, now the condition applies the same what applies for the cloth there, the way it is explained. Whenever this body becomes non-useful for us or useless for us, useless means what? What do you mean by useless?
Finish with the experiences.
Good, one point. You have finished. Your job in this body is over. Whatever is the given field of transaction for you, you cannot perform. All what need to be performed has already been performed. There is nothing more left in this body to perform. That's one way to understand. But I'll translate it to the literal world also. Somebody may meet with accident. I have to explain in all the platforms, by the way. Somebody may meet with accident, and then at that time, who decides this body is useful or useless? Depending upon the condition of that accident, the soul will decide to exit this body. The jiva means, I'm talking about the M and I. When I use the word jiva, don't confuse that with Om. Self is all pervading, doesn't come and doesn't go anywhere. It is the changeless substratum amidst these all changes. It is that substratum on which all these changes are happening. So the soul, when I use the word soul, it becomes a little confusing to that point. The moment I use soul, you should understand it with jiva. I'll explain you jiva other way. Anyway, let me just explain you here only. See, there is one term which you all need to understand. Right now we are what? Ego realized soul. What we need to become? Soul realized ego. It's only one word. It's only one word. What did I say? What we are today is ego realized soul. That is the mistake. Where we need to reach? We need to become soul realized ego. Okay? Till when ego will remain with you? Till the time you are in this body. Because body cannot survive without that. How will you? Ego means what? You are different from her, she is different from you. That is what is ego, no? Ego means for the difference, the boundary between us. That is what ego is all about. So, I factor, what we call. When I say I, there is a supreme I also, there is a individual I also. I am talking about right now, ego I is the individual I. Individual I will remain in the body, but if sitting in this body, you have to realize yourself to be the all-pervading self, which is one and all. You have to completely distinguish yourself and separate yourself from the MNI group, BMI group. B to anyway it will fall. MI and Vasana. You have to completely separate yourself from that. Anyway, Bhagavan says, what happens here? When the body becomes torn out, I use the word accident there. When the body becomes useless, it cannot continue to work in those plane of fields for which I am actually destined to work upon. It becomes useless. What happens? This soul or jiva, which we call, leaves the body exactly how old cloth is given up. It gives up the body. I'll use this word, is better to understand. It gives up the body and acquires what? A new body. But remember, what is the example which was given there? Like old cloths are given up and new cloths are acquired, but the person doesn't change. In the same way, in literal parlance, even when the body is given up and a new body is acquired, the soul, the jiva doesn't change. Jiva will remain same. What do I mean by same? Whatever that jiva has acquired. Acquired means? What has the jiva acquired? Collected what? Vasanas is one thing, definitely yes. It is only Vasana, the punya or pap, what you call the karma, what you call it. You can translate, actually, I will use the word, merit and sin, punya and pap. That's the second thing. And the third thing is whatever culture, that I'll fall under culture. Whatever culture that jiva has acquired. However cultured that jiva has become during that, which is value system, beliefs, faith, whether he or she has fixed the faith correctly also or not. Whatever he has acquired, it goes and takes another body. In the another body, it starts unwinding up. So remember, in one house itself, it is but natural if you find people of different faiths. It is possible. Because every jiva is different. Every jiva is actually coming and unwinding his or her own karma, whatever he has acquired. Family is just a condition where a person is born. It's just a condition. It is the outer condition situation where that person is born. But remember that family has got nothing to do with that jiva's own karma and other things which that jiva has inherited. That is why in one house itself, irrespective of facilities, there may be people who are perpetually sad, sorrowful. There are people who are, irrespective of the lower conditions, they are perpetually happy also. See, both things are available. You will see, because that's their own way of culture they have driven themselves to. That's what they have acquired. So either Bhagwan says, that's one literal way to understand. But remember, Bhagwan's purpose of saying this shloka is not to tell you that. What is the common parlance of understanding? Bhagwan is only driving one concept, that what is the concept is going on? The nityatva of the Atma, of the Supreme Consciousness. The Supreme Consciousness, irrespective of whatever changes happen, the Supreme Consciousness remains unchanged. He is not talking about jiva, what we have understood this shloka in common parlance. He is giving an example of nityatva of Atma. I'll use one word which Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has highlighted in this bhashya. He says, Dehi Atma Purushavad Avikriya Eva Iti Artha. His purpose to say is only one thing, that self, irrespective of whatever happens, undergoes no change at all. Full stop. That self is not talking about jiva. At the transactional level of jiva, yes, see, people understand it at whatever level we are. Our understanding is according to our level, no? So, literal translation you can take as a higher level, but you need to understand the self, the supreme consciousness remains unchanged in all the changes which we see in this world. Whether it is at the body level, whether it is at the jiva level, whether whatever level you say.
That means God and we are obviously the same. That means it's the same.
Yes.
You
Definitely.
So it's the same.
That is why,
whether it is God or it is us, so we are the same.
Same. But remember.
Karmas also must not have any effect on
No, that's the point. Then why the karma has the effect?
If we are the
Same, actually.
what is
It's so
the
confusing.
It is. Why do you think so many chapters are required to explain you? Why do you think it is, we are required to even talk about this? It is confusing, but remember, you just take concept by concept and understand the thing. In the total parlance, in the BMI chart, which I have sent you on your group also, if you see, when I use the word self, I am talking about the supreme consciousness, Om. That Om remains unchanged in whatever happens through this world. Whether pralay happens, whether it comes, Prakriti comes, goes, manifests, unmanifests, anything, that Om remains unchanged because it's a changeless reality. Now let me just translate it to the downward part. Now remember, in the last class I have used one word, when I use the word Veda Avinashinam, Bhagwan has used in one of the shloka for the self aprameya. And I used in the class, remember, from Vasana downwards. Okay? If you remember that chart, I am using only 4 things here. I am not using the PFT and OET here. I am using, when you use Vasana, including Vasana, then intellect, then your mind, and then body. They come under the realm of finite world. I used that word in the last class. They come under the realm of finite world. Huh?
Matlab you can see that person.
You can, there is a form, there is a shape to it, there is a space to it, you can assign things to it. It comes under the finite realm. But Om it comes under the realm of infinite. Okay? From the infinite, only the finite has come. But remember, since it is the reality is infinite, the finite can never understand the infinite in its entirety. That is why Bhagwan used the word in shloka. I think I'll tell you the shloka only, then you will understand that. In shloka, he used one, this one. Huh?
The infinite can never recognize finite.
Yes.
What is the use of us doing all this thing?
Very good point. I'll come to that point. In shloka number 18, Bhagwan used this word, anashino aprameyasya. He said, you cannot know it. Then I explained that shloka in quite length actually. Those shlokas I took really long period of time because I was making you arrive here. When it is aprameya, you cannot know that infinite reality in entirety. And one example I gave in the last class. Anyone remember that example? And I gave the example what Gurudev gave. Gurudev was taking one session in Uttarkashi and there was some pandit sitting there. And then it started becoming dark. Gurudev went and switched on the light. Remember now?
Yes.
Electricity example, remember? Electricity, can you see electricity? No. You cannot. Even if you take out that bulb from that holder, you cannot see electricity. But can you experience? Yes, you can. Once you experience, can you explain somebody?
It cannot be explained.
So whosoever goes to Swami Chinmayanji, Gurudev only himself said, when that person went and touched, he shrieked around and took a round of the whole class and came back. I asked him, do you understand? Now you understand electricity? He said, yes, I have understood electricity. So he said, I accept you as my guru because you understood, I have not understood yet. Can you explain me? He said, I can't explain. He said, it is like, he tried to explain, but when you go and touch it, you will feel some vibration. All of you can say that, but you cannot really explain what it is. So at the end, he gave up and said, Gurudev said that, my anxiety became much more. I said, no, I want to experience now. He said, then I can give you only one thing, go and touch it yourself. Now you see, the example, I did not finish it that time. Why? Because I wanted to bring you here. He said, I stood up, I went and touched the electricity. I also shrieked around and ran. I came and sat with him. Now there are two people who have experienced electricity. Both of them know what electricity is, but both of them cannot explain it. Now, can they speak amongst themselves? They can't. Eye to eye, they are quiet and they are just, grasping what they have understood. That is what is going to happen with the self. Self you cannot know, but you can experience. That is the point I wanted to bring out from here. It is avikar. So, then what is this whole spirituality and all about? See, remember one thing, the self is the most subtlest of all. For intellect is what? Gross compared to the self. Intellect is subtler compared to the body, but gross compared to the self. Okay? Even compared to the 5 elements, intellect is gross, by the way. So remember, how can a gross understand the subtle? Gross can never understand the subtle. Gross can only experience the subtle. But remember, when it goes to experience, at that time, Shankaracharya ji explains it here so beautifully about, Agyan and Gyan. But I am not bringing it up here, but I will explain you some other time because it will become too complex for everyone to understand. He says, at the time when intellect starts experiencing, it experiences how? I used one word of concept of time in the last class. Time is nothing but the interval between two events. I started with that. Then I reduced to interval between two events means events. How can you understand events? It is through experience. So that means subjectively, time is nothing but the interval between two experiences. Now, how can you experience without thought? So then it reduced to the point, time is nothing but the interval between two thoughts. Now remember, in the level of meditation, when the intellect needs to experience, it has to drop all thoughts. And I sent one message, I think day before yesterday or yesterday. Dhyana is nothing but stopping the flow of thoughts. I sent that to you all only. Puja Gurudev's message. So all the practice of spirituality is what? To make you stop the flow of thought. When the flow of thought stops or ceases to appear, what remains is the self. That is why one way to experience the self is silence, quietude. In meditation, usually in normal, there is no normal or abnormal meditation. I'm just saying, in usual meditation classes, they always use one very popular word, quieten your mind. Quieten your mind. How do you quieten your mind? It is very easy to say quieten your mind. How? How do you quieten your mind?
Breath control.
That's one way. That's good. Can you stay awake without a thought? How?
Concentrate on your breathing.
Aware. Wait. Usually, what happens is breath control is, and all those things are only preparation to meditation. They are only the way to stop the gushing of thoughts. See, I am using the word purposively. How is our mind from since morning? Very good point. Just hold to that point. I'm coming to that point. And I'm coming to that point what she's saying. So what happens is, from morning to the night till I go to the sleep or deep sleep, my mind is gushing with thoughts. One after another, one after another, one after another, one after another. So all the practice through breath control and all those things is to stop this gushing. Control the flow of thoughts. Okay? But what do you mean by quietude of mind? It's called single pointedness. Concentrate your mind on one particular thought.
Breath.
You can start with breath, but there are many levels to go up. We're going to go up with that. When you concentrate your mind with one thought, it's called single pointedness. Remember, every attempt of single pointedness is doing one good thing to your intellect. It's sharpening your intellect. It's making your intellect subtler. Because these are all subtler subjects. And only a subtler intellect can grasp the subtler subject. So remember, the self cannot be known. Nobody can explain you the self. The scriptures, what they are doing is only pointing you towards that. Pointing, why pointing? So that in your single pointedness in your dhyana, in your meditation, you can place your thought on that, and then slowly, gradually with that thought, it will start becoming your experience. That is what it means by, what Amma also said is the same thing, that you concentrate on one particular thought. I will use the word single pointedness as more than that. You remember, there are vrittis in ultimate level of dhyana, जिसको निर्विकल्प समाधि कहते हैं. निर्विकल्प समाधि मतलब samadhi without any vikalpa, without any basis, without any foundation. You just remain in the nirvikalpa, in the open form, pervasive form. The sadhus usually concentrate on something called aham brahmasmi. This is a word which is coming from scripture. There are 4 mahavakyas: aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi, ayam atma brahma, or prajnanam brahma. There are 4 mahavakyas. 4 mahavakyas come from 4 Vedas, which is Rig, Yajus, Sama and Atharva. They come from one Upanishad from each of these ones. But they are only for what? They are only for focusing the thought on one particular one. But remember, all the thing what is given in spirituality is for the mind and intellect to become sharper and sharper, single pointed and single pointed, so that it becomes ready to grasp the subtler subject. Bhagavan says, remember Arjun. Now the thing is, why he explained this example that like old clothes are given up once it's torn or useless, and you take new clothes, you don't change. In the same way, body also keeps changing, but the self, he's not talking about jiva here. He's talking about the self. Remember, through all these changes, there is not even a wee bit effect on the supreme consciousness. In these mumbo jumbo of the world, In these endless changes of the world, the self remains in one single form without change ever. Because it remains changeless, that's why all these changes can happen on that thing. All the changes can happen because of a changeless substratum. Now he continues this example and he takes to the next level. Next level he says, now Arjun, he says, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Na chainam kledayantyapo, Na shoshayati marutaha, Nainam chindanti shastrani, Nainam dahati pavakaha, Na chainam kledayantyapo, Na shoshayati marutaha. Now this example, you have to understand what Bhagavan is giving. Let me explain you the literal translation first. Nainam chindanti shastrani, that self, which is the changeless, eternal, immutable reality I have been talking about till now, no weapon can cut it. Nainam chindanti shastrani, no weapon can inflict any cutting into parts or making it into parts. No, nothing can do that. Nainam dahati pavakaha, even the fire cannot burn it, that self. Na cha enam kledayanti apaha, the water cannot decay it, cannot cause it to decay. Then he says, na shoshayati marutaha, and this wind or air cannot cause it to become dry. Now, someone may think, what is Bhagavan talking about here? But you have to step back a little bit. There are 5 elements in this cosmos. This whole cosmos is made of 5 elements. I am talking from subtle to the gross. The subtlest of the 5 elements is space, akasha. The second in the subtlety is vayu, air. The third in the subtlety is fire, agni. Fourth in the subtlety is jal, water. And then fifth, the grossest among them all is earth. Now remember, one way to see is that one is subtler than another, one is subtler than another, one is subtler than another. But no, that's not what is need to be understood here. Remember, the subtlest will pervade the next subtler, the more grosser to it. That is the series you have to understand. Akasha pervades in all the other 4 elements. Okay? Space is there in everything, all the 4 elements. Vayu pervades in the other 3 elements. But remember, Akash is more subtler, so it cannot touch Akasha. Okay? Because there are places where there is no Vayu also in Akash. In the space you can see that. But in universe when you see. So Vayu, Akash pervades in Vayu. Vayu pervades in Akash, and Vayu both pervades in Agni. Agni has both elements. That's why you will see Agni, keeps, the flame of the fire, it keeps changing in the direction. Sometimes because of the Bahar thing also, but it has got air in itself. Agni, when you burn the fire, you will see the fumes coming up, and then there will be smoke coming out of it. Smoke is what? Air only, no? Fire is releasing air from that. Na? It's there already in that. Now remember, the Akasha, the space pervades in the Vayu, air. Space and Vayu pervades in the Agni. Now remember, Agni, Vayu and space pervades in water. Wow, that's the point. That's the reason I want to tell you. Why do you think I picked up this example? You may feel that water is used to actually put down fire. You feel that, right? कि पानी से तो आग बुझती है. But actually, it's not like that. It's not like that. Remember, okay, let me just use this example. When I use the word water, when you burn a fire in the, Havan Kund and all, you will see there will be water getting released. You see, if you see in Havan Kund, then you will realize, burn a karpur, you will suddenly see the water in the corner of it, it's getting released. So,
So they can we take that moisture
But remember, fire is pervaded in the water. Water is used to dose the fire. That's only one function. But remember, actual fire cannot be. What do you mean by fire? Because you think like that because you think fire is the external burning fire. No, that is not the subtler element called fire. Fire is in all of us. What do you call body heat? Isn't that fire? You are considering fire as the externally burning fire. That's not the only example of fire. Fire is there in every part of this creation. It is pervaded in water also, it's pervaded in earth also. Everything. You just see, inside your body there is heat. अग्नि, हाँ?
Water में heat कहाँ है?
आप देखो, पानी गर्म करते हो जब पानी गर्म करते हो, आपको लगता है कि बाहर की गर्मी पानी में जा रहा है. पानी की अपनी गर्मी ही ऊपर उठ के आता है. इसका मतलब गर्मी पानी में है ना ऑलरेडी. आप पानी सिर्फ आग पे बर्तन में जब उबालते हो, उबलता क्यों है? बर्तन तो नीचे से गर्म हो गया, आपको लगता है बर्तन गर्म होने की वजह से उबल गया. अरे भाई, उसके अंदर पहले ही फायर है. उसके अंदर फायर इज परवेडेड इन एवरीथिंग इन बिलो दैट. नाउ यू सी वाटर. Now let me just give you an example of what. I'll come back to this example. I'll explain you from here only. Now remember, come to the portion of earth. Now remember, earth is pervaded by all the four.
तो अर्थ में तो सभी चीज है.
आग है तभी तो ज्वालामुखी उठता है. अच्छा, जब ज्वालामुखी उठता है तो क्या आता है? When the volcano erupts, lava. Lava is what? Liquid?
Water, fire and
Is it liquid or no? That means liquid is there inside it, no? Already. Now remember one thing, in the earth, when you call about it, water is actually the binding factor for particles. I'm using the word again. Water is the binding factor of particles. H2O. H2O, what it does, if H2O is not there in the earth, it will become all like, desert. Desert you've seen, na? What happens in desert? Dry particles, and they start flowing with the wind in the direction of the wind. So remember, if the water is missing from the earth, it will all become particles flying here and there. It will know what is going to bind. In the same way, our body also constitutes of 70% of water. Remember, body is the binding factor. Water is the binding factor of our body. So we feel that water is just something, but it binds this whole particle together. Binding factor. Now when a potter makes a pot, what gives into that shape? Water and clay. Very good. Water and clay. Is water and clay enough to give the shape?
and
हाथ से क्या होता है?
heart see gives
क्या होता है?
and the wheel and
You are giving heat. Remember, form is the guna of fire. No, let me just come to this point now. मैं उसके आपको सटल पार्टिकल्स में बता देता हूँ. आकाश का गुण है, स्पेस का गुण है साउंड. शब्द आता है आकाश से. वायु का गुण है स्पर्श, टच. अग्नि का गुण है रूप. हाँ, रूप. अग्नि से ही रूप बनता है. बाय द वे, गोल्ड हैज टू बी बर्न टू पुट इनटू शेप. एवरीथिंग पॉट हैज टू बी बर्न टू गेट इनटू द शेप. नाउ वाटर, टेस्ट. रसनेंद्रियां पानी से काम करती हैं. देन अर्थ, एक ही चीज रह गई, गंध, स्मेल. See, these 5 elements have their own properties. Sound is the property of space. Touch is the property of air. Form is the property of fire. Taste is the property of water. Gandh, smell, is the property of earth. Now remember, now see, space, when I use the word आकाश की property है क्या? शब्द है ना? Air, the space properties is sound. Now remember, sound requires what to travel? Space. Air से sound spreads in space. दैट्स व्हाई आपको बाहर ऊपर बिजली कड़कती है तो आपको सुनाई देता है ना, कहाँ दूर कड़क रही है, इट रीचेस यू इन सम फॉर्म और द अदर. ठीक है ना. तो भगवान सेज व्हाट, देयर आर इन दिस
Property and guna the same thing.
properties and guna same thing. Guna we use it in Sanskrit, property we use in this thing. So Bhagwan says, Arjun, remember one thing, there are only 4 factors which causes destruction. Out of the 5 elements, Akash or space never causes any destruction. Destruction is caused by only remaining 4 elements. Okay? That is the shloka here. I have to come back to the shloka. Otherwise, I'll keep explaining, elements and it will go in that. It's a very long subject.
Bird and field doesn't cause it.
Huh?
Birds and field
Huh.
doesn't cause any.
No, word only. Only word.
आकाश का हो गया
हाँ.
शब्द.
Destruction as in
Wind
physical
is
destruction.
field, Vayu is field.
Vayu is field.
Field, sorry.
हाँ, feel.
Field.
Vayu is
बस
feel.
वायु से तो डिस्ट्रक्शन होता ही
हाँ, तो आ रहा ना वायु पर. मैं बोला ओनली आकाश is the only element which does not cause any destruction out of the 5 elements. Remaining 4 Bhagwan has listed here. Bhagwan has listed the 4 elements here, saying that the self, the supreme consciousness cannot be destroyed by these 4 elements. That is the point I am trying to explain here. So he says, now what are the 4 ways of destruction in this Prakriti? I will split this into 2 parts. Okay, one is caused by nature, by the nature itself. One is caused by the nature through different form. I'll split it into 2 parts now. First, I will not pick up the Nainam Chindanti Shastrani. Leave that apart for 1 minute. Because Shastra is coming from earth. I'll explain you differently. Now, nature causes destruction. How? Bhagwan has explained here. How does fire cause destruction? Fire burns into ashes and it destroys. He says, Dahati Pavakaha. Pavaka means Agni. Agni, what it does, it jala deti hai. It burns it away and makes it into ashes. Now, how does water destroy? Destruction of water is actually usually happens from two ways. Is one thing can destroy either by drowning in the water, but actual way of destruction by water is by decaying. Kledayanti apaha. What does water do? Keep something in the water for many years, it will start decaying. That's the property of water. That's how water destroys. And then comes Shoshayati Marutaha. Air does what? Air dries. It takes away the moisture from the things. Moisture means it takes away water. There is a skin doctor sitting, so there are a lot of use of moisturizers and other things. What does it use depending upon the season and weather? You just remember, even when we wash clothes and dry it, there is a misconception that the sunlight or the sun's heat is drying the cloth. No, it's actually air which is drying the cloth. Because the property of air is what? Air takes away the moisture. That's how it does. It says Shoshayati. Shoshayati means it dries away the moisture.
Winter में there is no heat. Then it takes longer time.
There is no heat, but there is no wind also at that time. But remember, even if wind blows and there is no sunlight outside, your clothes will still dry. What actually happens in the sunlight, why it dries faster, is that because of the sunlight, the air also becomes hot. That's why the drying time becomes less. But actual drying factor is driven by who? By air. Air is the drying factor. But remember, these are 3 natural things which destroys naturally. But remember, Pujya Gurudev explains this very beautifully. He says one thing. What is with nature's destruction? Why I am explaining separately. Nature's destruction is always constructive destruction. Nature's destruction is termed as creative destruction.
Changes from one
One form to another. If it decays, it will become into manure or something different. If it dries, it will dry down, fall into earth and become something else. If it is, burned, it will become ashes. It becomes good for the, Vanaspati Jagat and all. They all are creative and constructive destruction, which is done by nature naturally. But there is one portion which I separated from the thing. That is the destruction by earth. How does earth destroy? Now, earth's destruction is two ways. I have to split that into two ways. One is natural destruction by earth. What? Bhukamp aa gaya, earthquake. Okay, it's a natural destruction by earth. Landslide, it's a natural destruction by earth. Bhooskalan, things go under the earth and all those kind of things. Those things are natural destruction. But yes, it is not a other kind of destruction. It's a constructive destruction only, because earth has got its own way to take everything and reuse it for the future generation. But one portion of destruction by the earth is actually constituted by man. How? He creates weapons. What is used here? Nainam chindanti shastrani. That destruction is actually destructive destruction. All destruction inflicted by man. I'm using man only.
It's written in the Gita what you're saying.
Yeah, Nainam chindanti shastrani.
Yeah,
I'm reading
one
from the...
is natural and one is by
Yeah,
weapon.
definitely. So, Nainam chindanti shastrani, I'm explaining you that shloka, what Bhagavan is saying here. In that destructive destruction, what happens is, you can put the part of, how does earth destroy? By weapons. It can be bomb, it can be stone pelting, it can be, man-made weapon.
Or natural.
And one more thing I can list down there, which I explained you earlier, accidents. Accident is also by man-made equipment, no? Somebody drove incorrectly, lethargically, somebody drove rashly, caused an accident. They are all inflicted by man-made things. But remember, where will man make the things from? He has to make the things from earth only. Where are weapons made from? Earth. So they fall under the category of the fifth element, which is the grossest of all, earth. But earth, I told you again, there are two kinds of destruction. Constructive destruction, which are done in natural way, and destructive destruction, which are inflicted by man, by man-made equipments and man-made things.
Climate change.
Yes, climate change is also, man is responsible for it.
So basically
No.
space doesn't destroy.
Doesn't destroy, cause any destruction at all. It's the subtlest of all.
Subtlest and it's a pervading all.
Now, why did I explain this so elaborately? If space is subtlest among the five elements, the supreme consciousness, the self, being the cause of all, is even subtler than space. If space, being the subtlest, do not cause any destruction, then how do you think the self is going to cause any destruction? That is what is explained here. Why do you think I took you through this long story of these elements? The elements, purpose of explaining is not the elements. Elements, so we can explain in some other Vedanta class also. But remember, Bhagavan is saying, Arjun, those four usual modes of destruction cannot destroy the self. Now remember one thing, one more way to understand this is that which is an effect can never cause the destruction of its cause. I'm repeating myself. That which is an effect comes from some cause, right? Effect can never destroy its own cause. And remember, from Akash it comes all these things, right? First came Akash. You read Tattvabodh, right? Tattvabodh. Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agnihi, Agner Apaha, Apaha Prithvihi. They came in this manner. They manifested in this manner. So, from one which the element comes, the element becomes the effect. Akashat Vayu, from space came air. Explain kiya hai, same thing. Akashat Vayu, Vayor Agnihi, Agner Apaha, Apaha Prithvihi. ऐसे आता है. This is the sequence of creation of elements, 5 elements. And then there are different ways of elements also. There are Tanmatra level, which is the subtlest of all. What you see as Agni is the grosser form of these elements. There is a subtler form of these elements also, which are called as Tanmatra. subtler form of all these elements, which are called as Tanmatra, which is what we call as, we use the word
How
what?
do you translate Tanmatra into English?
Tanmatra is the subtlest of all. The cause of these elements also in their, no, it is the subtlest form of these elements only. It's called Tanmatra. Matlab from which these elements only came. That is where we assign, in Sanatan
There's
Dharma.
a subtlest form of water also.
Yes, there is a subtler
Both
form
the
of
five
water.
elements are subtle.
Earth का भी
What
subtlest
you
form
see, water is the grossest form of that water. I'll use one word. I'll explain you this way. There is one sentence which I use in last to last class. Ganga ji came from Swarga.
मैं बोलने वाली थी फिर गंगा तो वो सटलर नहीं है.
Ganga ji came from Swarga means what? स्वर्ग में बहती हुई नदी फॉर्म में थोड़ी ही है, वहाँ सटलर फॉर्म में तभी तो इधर आई हैं. That water only came. Yes, that's the point. आपके मन So see, when you say Ganga, when we say Vayu Devata, why have we assigned Devatas to them? Why have Sanatan Dharma accepted Devatas for Agni Devata, Vayu Devata? They are all in charge at the Tanmatra level of these elements. Somebody has to govern, no? So we have divinized everything. Sanatan Dharma ki beauty is this much. We have divinized form of everything. Prithvi is Mata for us.
क्योंकि उससे सब पैदा होता है.
बिल्कुल सब कुछ इससे आता है, पलता है इसमें और इसी में चला जाता है. पृथ्वी से आता है, पृथ्वी में चला जाता है. We come from earth and we dissolve in the earth only. So remember, this is the level we need to understand. When subtlest of all these elements, Akasha itself does not cause any destruction to anything. How do you think the self, which is more subtler than Akash, cause any destruction? So the purpose of this shloka is only to say that Atmanah is avikritva. उसमें कोई विकार नहीं आता. There are no changes possible in that self at all. अविक्रियत्वात्. अविक्रिय एव इति अर्थ है. पिछले श्लोक में भी मैंने बोला था आपको, आत्मा में कोई विकार संभव ही नहीं है. आत्मा में कोई विकार हो ही नहीं सकता. आत्मा में कोई विकार नहीं होता. दैट इज वाई भगवान हैज एक्सप्लेन्ड अनाशिनः, अविनाशी, अव्ययः. ही हैज गिवन सो मेनी एग्जांपल्स फॉर दैट. वन आफ्टर अनदर ही इज गिविंग एग्जांपल. व्हाई भगवान इज गिविंग so many examples? Because this subject being little subtler, it is difficult to grasp in its entirety. He may explain it in the further shlokas also, but I'll come to that point. Now you need to understand this thing, that self does not cause any destruction of anything. Because the self is of that form, Bhagwan uses the next shloka. He says, Achedyo yamadahyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha Nitya sarvagatasthānuhu achaloyam sanatanaha अच्छेद्यो यमदाह्योयम अक्लेद्यो शोष्य एवच नित्य सर्वगतस्थाणुः achaloyam sanatanaha. Because the self has been explained in this form, that neither water can decay it, nor air can dry it, nor fire can burn it, not earthly weapons can cut it asunder. So it says, Bhagavan uses in the same translation, he uses in the same order. That's why this self is achedyaha. Nobody can pierce it through or cut it through. Achedyaha. I am means I am Atma. This self, supreme consciousness, this Atma, the self of all, is achedya, cannot be cut by anything at all. Adahyaha, cannot be burned to ashes. Akledyaha, nobody can cause, even the water cannot cause any decay, so nobody can cause a decay to the self. Those are the ways of destruction. And then says Ashoshya, no air can dry that earth self. Evacha, always at all times, never ever these kind modes of destruction is possible in that self. Because he gives the reason, and then because the Atma is Nitya, ever present, omnipresent, ever present. And I explained you what? That which cannot be destroyed in 3 periods of time, that which cannot be caused by destruction of any object, which cannot be destroyed in any space. Einsteinian world of time, space and object. All these three modes, all these three levels, nobody can cause any destruction. He says Nityaha. It's always present. That is why it is infinite. Na? Infinite means it's beyond time. Achha, one more thing I wanted to say. There is one thing which I want to talk about. That Om, I told you that realm of time. I explained you how the time comes and all those things. Remember, time is also finite. Time is finite. It's destructible. Because it is finite, it is only one thing which has come from the infinite. That's why the infinite is beyond time. Nitya. Time is also an effect of that cause which is the self. It is only one karya. Okay? Uska karan kaun hai? Karan is the self. Because time is also a karya, so that's why the self is beyond time. That is why it is called Nityaha. Nitya means ever present. Because no time can define its availability and non-availability. It is never non-available at all. Because it is Nityaha, Sarvagataha. It has reached everywhere. Now they are all related words. Huh? Sarvagata means? In the 17th sloka I said, na, Yena sarvam idam tatam. Because it pervades through everything in this cosmos. Sarvagata means it has reached everywhere. There is no place, no space, no object, no time which is devoid of this. It is there everywhere. That is why Sarvagata, it is already reached everywhere. Because it is Nityaha and Sarvagataha, he has used the word Sthanuhu. It is always at one place. Because Thanu means it is at one place. I'll give you an example for that. Kahan? Where will he move? Sarvagataha. Where will he go? He's already reached everywhere. See, when I use the word he, don't confuse between the he and she there. It's only a way to explain because we have to use some word to do that. But remember, Sthanu means it is always in one single form, every time, all time available. There is no place where he is not available. Okay? Achaloyaha, achaloyam. This ayam atma, achala means it doesn't move. Sthanu, I told you they are all related words. Nitya, because it is sarvagata. Because it is nitya, it is sarvagata. Because it is sarvagata, it is thanu. Because it is thanu, which is achaloyam, it doesn't move anywhere. And says, ayam. Then he uses one word, sanatanaha. Sanatana means what? See, this is
always there.
Sanatana means there is no time when he was not there. There is no time when he is not there. There will be no time when he will not be there. There is no object, living, non-living, where he is not there. There will be no object even post it is destroyed that it is going to inflict the self to be not available. It is always available at all periods of time. Sanatana. There was a session going on in Vrindavan some long time ago. Puja Maharaj Sri Swami Akhandanandji Maharajji, he was talking to everybody. He says, can you explain one word to define Sanatan? So many people stood up. Swamiji, me. Did I complete my statement yet? Let me just first complete, no? He said Sanatan means what? There is a very poor translation which we had used now, religion, dharma. Dharma is a very poor translation of dharma is religion. Religion is not the correct translation of dharma at all. Then Swamiji said, religion is actually nothing but cult, community. ठीक है ना? Religion. Religion means what? Community. It means a cult. It means a group of followers. You can say that. But when you come back to dharma, I did not take up that thing. In the, bhashya, the beginning Bhashya, Bhagavan has translated the word dharma, which I had said in this class also, that which is Sakshad Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Hetu Sarva Praninam, that which is the cause of growth and development of all the jivas, whether it is in plant body, animal body, any body, that which is come from time immemorial. Not somebody sat down on one particular date and created it. It is not that dharma. Sanatan dharma has came along with creation and will go along with creation, will become unmanifest along with creation, and will come back in the next creation whenever it comes back there. Sanatan is not a constitution the way we understand constitution now. Our constitution is what? All people sat together, seeing the current condition, they wrote down a constitution. But remember, that constitution, they call it dharma, which we have to follow. But this one is not sat down and written by people in a period of time. When we talk about other religion, they have a person who sat down and wrote that religion. Okay? They are a person who can be assigned as the one who has led this religion, and when in a period of time. You talk any religion, but remember, Sanatan Dharma does not qualify for those things. Sanatan Dharma encompasses everybody. They may be following any religion. Even it is applicable to other religions which consider themselves different from Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is the written law of this cosmos. And it was not created after the creation came, somebody sat down and wrote the thing. No, it came along with God when He created the creation. It came with the creation. Everybody is bound by Sanatan Dharma. They may follow whatever in their community, in their own religion, mazhab they use the word, in their mazhab, in their religion they can use whatever they want to. But remember, everybody point blankly is governed by Sanatan Dharma, because it is a rule which is applicable to the entire Jagat, entire Jeev Jagat when you are here, whether plant, animal, whichever way. Because it has come with God into this creation, with God means with this creation, it cannot be destroyed within this creation. That now let me just translate to other religion. Those have been created in a period of time. Then do I have to say whatever is created in a period of time will get destroyed in this period of time only? I don't have to say it, it's written, right? Everybody knows, the science also accepts this. Whatever is created has to go. But Sanatan, nobody can cause it to destroy at all. It will remain there forever and keep governing everyone. Rest we will see in the next class. Kayena vacha manasendriya irva buddhyatmana va prakrite svabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanaeti samarpayami श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. ओम तत्सत्.